Welcome to the Beyond Divorce, Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Beyond Divorce, Embracing Change. Jen and I are actually going to go over a really cool thing today. We're going to do a reel that we're going to watch, and we're going to break it down.
Yeah.
And so this reel we're watching is by a reel creator named Coach Kasabo, and it's spelled Coachkasabo if you're interested in looking this up. But we're going to go ahead and play it, watch the whole thing.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is, for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see the reel as well. And then for those that are listening, we'll hear it. There'll be audio. So that's what we're going to do first, and then we'll break it down. So there's three things we're listening for.
Yeah.
He's going to speak about labeling, over-processing, and over-validating.
Oh, yeah.
And so this will be fun to kind of break down. And I think what I want to do is relate it as it relates to divorce.
Yeah.
So conversations with the kid, those kinds of things. So you ready to watch it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. All right. Just a second for those watching us. Here we go.
Anxiety crisis at an alarming rate. Society's unhealthy fixation of forcing kids to constantly think and talk about their feelings has unsurprisingly cultivated a generation of kids who constantly think and talk about their feelings. Now you might be thinking, isn't this the progress we want after decades of dismissed and repressed feelings? Which I would respond to by saying, absolutely, but only if we're encouraging kids to acknowledge, then move through their feelings. But right now, the opposite is happening, where kids are unintentionally being taught to freeze and fold at the hands of well-intentioned but misled adults, with these three strategies routinely backfiring. Labeling. Each year, I see more kids who say things like, I have anxiety, or my anxiety, which implies they've been informally labeled at home or have repeatedly heard the language, which has led to a self-diagnosis. What's typically discovered is that parents loosely use the language in an effort to identify the problem in hopes of effectively managing it, but it unfortunately promotes a self-fulfilling prophecy for the child. Over-processing. Right now, many parents are constantly stopping to talk about problems at length in the moment to help their child fully understand the context, but this usually models indecisiveness and a lack of confidence since the parent isn't using their authority to swiftly manage the situation. Over-validating. Parents have also been misled to believe that continuous validation in the moment will provide the connection needed to calm their child, but validation by itself can inadvertently suggest that you agree with them, which can reinforce warped and harmful perspectives. Why do you think so many adults continue to use strategies that influence kids to be anxious?
Oh, can I answer that question?
Ginger, answer a question. Go ahead and answer the question.
The last question he asked is why do we think adults are doing this and creating that sense of anxious in kids? In my theory, and this is just me, is the parents themselves are anxious. And they're putting it into their kids because they feel it and they see it.
Yeah.
And they're marrying each other.
Wow,
I know.
Jen.
Sorry. I just was like,
No.
the first thing I thought of as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, because they're anxious themselves.
He asked the question, so if he's listening to the podcast, he'll get your answer.
Yeah.
I think projection is what that's called.
Yeah.
Happens much more often than people realize.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And if what you're saying is true, then it goes back to another saying that's also true, which is that kids will set you up to feel what they feel. And we never lose that as adults. So if we're setting up people to feel what we feel, then we're always projecting in some form. Makes sense. We're projecting our beliefs, our thoughts. So when people say, oh, when they talk about influence, everyone's influencing you.
Yeah.
Someone once said that we are a compilation of the 5 closest people in our circle. We're an average of that.
Okay.
So if you think about the 5 closest people you bring into your circle, you become an average of those 5.
All right.
And I thought, wow, that's interesting.
That's very interesting. Okay.
So it goes back to what your point is that you're projecting your own stuff. And so I also think there's another part of it is our society has gotten label friendly.
Oh, goodness, yes.
And we've labeled sadness as depression.
Yes.
We've labeled dread as anxiety.
Yeah.
And so what happens is we're using clinical words to describe normal moments.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we get clinically stuck. And that's the problem with labels is it puts people, so I guess we're jumping into labeling.
Jumping into labeling, yeah.
Labeling puts people in a box.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why are labels good? If I come to you, Jen, and say, I've got a client who's dealing with extreme anxiety.
Yeah.
And they are clinically depressed.
Uh-huh.
And I tell you something like that, that lets you know kind of how they're functioning because you're in my field.
Exactly.
But if the client walks out with that label, the client says, that's me. And the identity is now wrapped into the label.
Yep.
And that's where they get stuck.
They do. And I think the problem they get, the reason why this is, it's hard because lots of people talk about their issues and their things and they label it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if kids have gone to a doctor, they have been given a diagnosis of some sort. They assume, I had a kid a couple of years ago, he's like, well, he was acting out. He's like, well, my ADHD made me do it. And you have to separate yourself. That's the problem with labeling. You become what you think you have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
or you excuse the behavior for the thing
yeah. And I think that's the thing. They're using it as an excuse. And now they have a reason to act out. They have a reason to misbehave. They have a reason to get angry and yell and scream and throw things.
Well, I think his point was we're getting better at helping kids to identify what they're experiencing, but parents are not trained in a way to help them learn how to move through them.
Exactly. And that's a lot of the work I do because I work with especially younger kids. You want to be able to help them identify what the feeling is, but then we got to figure out how do we get through the feeling?
Yeah.
Because the other side of that with labeling, they're like, well, I have this. It's me. It's all inside of me and I can't do anything about it.
Right.
And that label part actually hurts because the kids feel like they can't fix it. They can't change it. They don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, just saying someone has anxiety, everybody has anxiety.
Well, and I think it comes up in divorce, this deal, because you'll get one parent that will say, you know, the kid has extreme anxiety. The other parent goes, it's not the kid, it's the parent, right?
Yes.
Like, no, they don't. They don't have your extreme anxiety. That's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's how it comes up in divorce usually is I have two parents that see something very differently. And what I do with the parents is instead of using the label, I'll just say, would you guys disagree? Would it be kind of, I guess, would I be off base in saying that the child is experiencing something that's off?
Yeah.
And they usually go, yes. And I go, would either of you be opposed to me coming back to you and letting you know this is what's missing for your kid?
Yeah.
And this is where you can best help?
Yeah.
And they usually say, no, we're good with that. Please do that.
Yeah.
And so now what I've done is I've let them release the label.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving me now the permission to look into the situation, decide what it should be called so that I can help them get through it. But here's the hard one too. If your kid is receiving psychiatric help, there's a label.
Yes, there is.
If your kid is getting insurance billed,
there's a label.
There's a label because they require it.
If they get medication, there's a label.
How do you medicate without the label?
Exactly, you can't. And I think that's part of it though. And because I've had parents come in and they're like, well, this is what my kid is doing. They're acting out. They're doing this at home. They're doing this at school.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to be on medication. And then the other parent's like, no, they don't need to be on medication.
Yep.
Then you've got this disconnect. But the kid themselves just needs to figure out how to deal with the emotion half the time. I'm not a huge proponent for medication. There are places it's very important. It's necessary.
Right.
But at the same time, if you don't start at the smaller part where you might think there might be a label.
Right.
Think about what can we do to help that kid right now manage what they're feeling. And if that helps enough, you don't need to move forward. You know, even kids who are hyperactive.
Right.
Most 5-year-old boys are hyperactive, just in general. That does not mean they have ADHD.
You didn't know me when I was 5, Jen?
I know, but I know.
You're assuming I was hyperactive, okay?
I know you now.
Well, let's talk about the second part of the video. I don't know.
Overprocessing?
He talked about, the second topic was overprocessing. So this is a part where
feelings. Let's talk about your feelings every day.
Yes. Parents are constantly stopping to talk to their children about the feelings. And this is what he says, this usually models an indecisiveness and a lack of confidence.
You know what's funny is I have a lot of kids that come in, especially in divorce situations, every day. My mom's always asking me, what's wrong? What's going on? What's going on today?
Do you think that's an over-processing issue?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what you mean.
Because the kids are like, I'm fine. I just am not talking right now. They feel like that. Well, it's kind of like the helicopter parent. They're asking too much. And the kid's like, I just got out of school. I don't feel anything right now. And the parent is constantly, well, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? How was your trip with your dad? How did you go there? And they're asking all these questions about how they feel over and over again. And the kid's like, I'm fine. But the parent doesn't accept that.
So maybe the parent's not fine. Is that what you were saying earlier? Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. Or they assume because of the divorce, there's got to be something going on.
Here, I'll make it easy.
Some kids are actually fine.
I'll make it easy for the parents. Your kids are not fine when you get divorced.
No.
Okay, never. I don't know a situation where they're ever fine. You get them out of a situation, maybe they're not safe. Maybe you've cleared up that problem, but you haven't cleared up the problem of the fact that we have a broken family.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not fine. When you overdo it and you're over processing with the kid, what he's talking about here is it models indecisiveness and a lack of confidence. And so the kid sees you at lack of confidence. They start questioning their own decisions. And is this right or is this wrong? Should I do this or should I do that?
Or should I feel this way? Should I feel this way?
Yeah. And so the kid learns to avoid the feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Versus actually tackling it.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what you want to do. You want them to tackle the problem because that's how they actually get through the issue. And so when you bring your kid to therapy, the therapist isn't sitting and going, let's talk about how we can avoid this feeling that you have.
Well, we do not.
Right? Or my favorite is let's talk about how you can cope with. Yeah. Right? And coping, in my opinion, has a negative connotation. At least I feel it does. Because a true cope is like going, there's nothing you can do about it, but we got to find a way to get through it. That's coping, in my opinion. But that's not how it's taught.
No.
Coping's taught.
I don't think of it that way.
Well, I know. And most people dealing with coping is what they're actually doing, in my opinion, is just kind of going, let's figure out how we can make this feel good. And let's figure out how we can avoid this feeling, which creates more of the issue.
True.
And so I would like us to get to a place where when we go to our kids and we say, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And they go, I'm not too good. Is there anything I can do to help? And they go, no. Leave them the damn hell alone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's okay. Let them figure it out.
Well, that indecisiveness, I have kids who have said, they're like, I don't feel anything right now. I'm good. I'm tired from school.
Yep.
I'm tired from this. There's drama with my friends. And they don't want to talk about it. But the problem is they start questioning themselves. Like, well, maybe I'm supposed to feel something else. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm supposed to feel more upset. Maybe I'm supposed to be mad because obviously they keep asking me. So maybe I'm missing something that I don't know. And then that lack of confidence of understanding how you truly feel yourself. Yeah. And it's a lot of work I do is helping the kids understand themselves enough to say, this is how I really feel.
Right.
And the other side of that is parents accepting it and not overanalyzing it either.
So we had a conversation in therapy once. Dr. Ellison, actually, I'll give him props on this. He talked about the beauty of therapy is that most people, you don't have to be trained as a therapist to do this, we know how to unzip someone. So what we mean by that is pretend we have this invisible zipper, which is all of our stuff's inside. And most people have learned how to ask enough things or to inquire about things where they unzip, where I can get someone to open up to me. I can say, hey, how you feeling? Or, man, it seems like you had a rough day.
Yeah.
And I'm doing an unzipping, right? So they're getting to pour out. And what happens is, he says, a good therapist knows how to zip them back up.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people don't know how to do that. It's like good parents are really good in divorce about going, whoop, tell me about what's in there.
Yeah, but they don't know how to fix it or change it or put it back together.
And that's the point with the over processing.
Yeah.
You overdo the unzip, but you don't know how to do the zip up. So this is why you have to be okay with if the kid kind of buckles one down or takes one button down, they're opening a little portion and you're going, okay, this is important. I don't know how to help this. So then you might seek out some more help on how to do the zip up because that's what we're trained to do, right? Okay. So let's go to the next topic, which is over-validating.
Ugh.
So this would be continuous validation inadvertently in the moment that doesn't affirm the child but implies you agree with them? What does that mean to you?
It's a long thing.
That's a long thing, but look at that.
To me, what this is when a parent constantly says, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be upset with your dad. They didn't do what you said. They said they were going to.
Why is it always the dads?
I don't know why. Well, I mean, sometimes it is the moms. Believe me, I got plenty.
We say dads a lot, but yeah, we got moms.
I got
too.
moms who don't do their stuff too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's constantly telling the kid over and over again, it's okay for them to act that way. I'll take care of you. And you're kind of inadvertently making a jab at the other parent. Instead of having the kid work on that issue with that other parent and let the kid be known to say what they feel about the other parent, how they feel when the other parent says, you can't go to soccer because it's my time.
So is it more important to affirm the child or agree with the child?
Affirm their feelings, yes.
What does that look like? Yeah, what does that look like, Jen? Affirming a feeling versus agreeing with the feeling. It's a hard one, isn't it?
That is very hard. But I do think with parents acknowledging, okay, you're mad. Can you tell me what you're mad about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. That's affirming it. You don't have to say anything else. I think for parents, it's to stop talking. Because the
get your own opinion out of it.
When you keep going and you start talking about the other parent and you put your own opinion in there, you're agreeing with the kid. Not that it's good or bad. I mean, feelings are feelings. They're not good or bad. They are just feelings. They're not an accusation. They're not meant to hurt you. They're not meant to hurt the other person. They are that person's feelings.
Right.
You can acknowledge that. You don't have to agree with it. But you also don't have to tell them that. I think this goes into over-explaining.
Over-validating can turn into over-explaining.
Yeah, because then you're like, well, or you're trying to take up for the other parent.
Yeah.
Well, your mom's really busy and she can't get to you right now. And, but she really loves you and she really cares about you and all these things. That is not your place. You don't get to say that.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak on that. I don't tell kids who loves them.
Yeah.
Like, I will say things like, it seems like
yeah,
your mom really cares a lot about you. And the kid might go, yeah or no.
Yeah.
And so one way I stay out of over-validating is I use labeling. And it's the 5 cents conversations and not this type of labeling.
Not that labeling. I was thinking.
Yeah, wait, hold Michael. What are you doing?
The other kind.
I'm talking about using that, let me be wrong.
Yeah.
So I'll say things like, it seems like this, or it looks like that, feels like that.
Yeah.
And the kid will either affirm it.
Yeah.
And go, yeah, that's what it is. Or they'll deny it and say, no, it's not that, and they'll correct me.
Yeah.
And either way, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because it's theirs, not mine, right? It's their stuff. And what I think what we tell parents here is, a good way to not over-validate is affirming what they feel. Say, you seem upset.
Yeah.
Or it looks like you're upset. And they go, yeah, I'm mad. And you'll go, well, I'm mad too. Like, you're going to leave you out of it.
Yes, leave yourself out.
Right? I don't have to align with you because I'm mad too.
No.
And I just say, well, what's that all about? Or, you seem upset. I am upset. Help me understand.
Another thing to do, a parent could do, instead of even asking that, just say, is there anything I can do to help?
I mean, that literally is where it should end, right?
And that's it. If they say no, okay, let them go. And if they say yes, I would like some tea, or I would like a hug, or I want to go spend some time in my room.
Yeah. How can I help? What can I do to help? Is there anything I can do to help?
It's that living in curiosity land. Ask if you can help. If they say no, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a slight against you because they say no. I mean, unfortunately, I have parents that they get mad because the kid doesn't want to spend time with them, or the kid doesn't want to process something with them in that moment. And I think you just got to have to back off a little bit.
Right. So let me go through this real quick. I know this is kind of a quick podcast, but I want to go through this one more time. The 3 topics are labeling, over-processing, and over-validating.
Yes.
And so what we want to go over this one more time to say that labeling, putting a label, like I have anxiety or you have depression, whatever else it may be, that can create a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that the kid, or as what he's talking about in the video, the kid will believe that's what they have.
That's who they are.
So be careful with labels. Try not to use labels. Try to use things like you're dreading.
Yeah.
Right? Dread is a great one
fears.
versus anxiety. Yeah. Try to get rid of the clinical words as much as possible.
Yeah. Use simple words.
Yeah. And then the other one's over-processing. This is where kids are being talked to by their parents where they're asking them to talk constantly about their feelings.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds like a little bit like over-validating, but over-processing is doing too much of that. Like
Asking too
I'm not
often.
asking your kids what they feel every time they walk in a counseling room.
Oh, I
guys.
don't. No.
And so
They tell me if they want to.
exactly. And here's the cool part: when it comes from them directly, and I'm not having to ask about it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's more cathartic
I
for them.
love when the kids figure it out for themselves and they can be like, you know what? I feel this today.
Yeah.
And they can say it,
Mhm.
but they also know what to do with it.
Exactly.
Once they start to figure out, okay, I feel upset right now, but I also know I can go do this and it'll make me feel better.
Right. And the last one is over-validating.
Yeah.
And this is where you inadvertently, in the moment, will affirm the child, but you apply that you agree with them. And it's not that we're saying you should disagree with your kid. What you do is you don't make it about you, make it about them. I think the thing that people have to do is not put their opinion on it or spend it. I'm mad too, or they're trying to connect.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the point is. They're trying to connect with them.
They're trying to have something in common
just
with you.
frustrated. Instead
Yeah.
of this seems really frustrating for you,
Yeah.
right? How can I help? Or you seem, right? It seems like you're
I've
upset.
had kids tell me flat out, they're like, my mom makes it about her.
Yeah. Well,
Or dad makes it about him, and it's not really, it's what I feel.
a lot of kids will do that. They don't feel like any of this is about them.
Yeah.
They don't even feel the divorce is about them. They think it's about each other.
Yeah.
And so here's a hard one. How can both parents sit in a room and both claim they love the kid but hate each other when half of the reason they're here is the other person?
Yeah,
How does a kid hear
I'm trying
that?
to figure that out because, divorce it's not an easy thing. And when you have hurt, you have frustration, and you have issues in a relationship, it's hard to get past some of that. But I think for the parents, they need to do their own work.
Well, I'm going to say this one more time. I really want the listeners to hear this. How can you both sit in a room with your kid or in your house, wherever you are, tell this child or children you love them, but yet hate each other, knowing that half the reason they're here is because of that other person? How does that work? It doesn't work in a kid's brain, guys.
Yeah.
And so
they don't understand that.
They don't get it. And so I know that wasn't part of the video, but I'm leaving you with something to really ponder.
We're asking a question for the end of the video.
Yeah. Giving us a chance to be curious, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to overshare. I'm not labeling. I'm asking you a curious question to get you to figure this out. Okay. Well, thanks for everyone for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jen, as well. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. We would hate for you to miss future episodes. We're going to be doing some really cool stuff now. I think we're seeing a lot more stuff come out, and we're breaking things down for people. Go back and watch this video again. I think it would be good for you to kind of hear it. And if you want to listen to the podcast, kind of do the simultaneous listening, that might help you kind of process this more. And I hope you'll ask us stuff about it because I really want to learn more from what you're hearing. I don't mind if people disagree with us. Actually, it makes me think more. I want you to agree, disagree, whatever, but pose your stuff so we can get better and do better, get better information to you. So thank you so much for being here. Keep moving forward, everyone. So look here, everyone. We've created a free resource to help you understand the deeper dynamics that may be shaping your family's experience of divorce. It's called The Toxic Family Dynamics Unpacked: Understanding Triangulation, Parentification, and Alienation in High Conflict Divorces. In this course, I break down 3 of the most common and damaging patterns we see families navigating divorce. You'll learn how to spot them, how they impact your kids, and what you can start doing to move toward healing and stability. People often assume that they're seeing is alienation, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's triangulation or parentification at play. Understanding the difference matters because the path forward depends on it. If you're ready to change the story in your family, visit www.brighterpossibilitiesfc.com/classes or the link in the show notes below to access the course for free. We're here to walk with you on your journey.